And welcome back to the Hot Lap. We are talking Bibs, Red Bull, possibly cheating, deals with the FIA under the table, maybe cheating, possibly, maybe not. Who knows? All this coming into the United States Grand Prix. So what is a bib? I mean, let's talk about that first, shall we? And it's this bit here, under the car, also known as the T-tray. Not for tea, obviously. But there you go, that bit there. What's controversial about it? Well, it really helps the floor. It once again helps with aerodynamics, especially in this ground effect era where there's more chances for the car to suck itself onto the ground. That did sound a bit rude, I appreciate that. But what is all this controversy? Well, coming into the Grand Prix, I initially thought it was going to be McLaren in trouble. When you look at this here, Oscar Piastri's McLaren subject to another FIA inspection after the Singapore Grand Prix. They had one of their cars hauled aside for additional checks following the Singapore Grand Prix. And all inspected components and items were found to be in conformance with the 2024 regulations. By chance, Piastri's car was also selected for this inspection following the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. But pray tell, I'm wasting your time because it's all about the front bib. This looks to be like a Mercedes car, maybe an Aston Martin, but no. It's Red Bull. It's Red Bull. So FIA, this is how it started. Kind of like yesterday now. FIA take immediate action after a suspicious floor trick exploit. Yet the governing body, the FIA, it confirmed that it's taken immediate action going into the United States Grand Prix, as they were concerned that this, at the time of writing, an unnamed team had been exploiting a ride height trick. Now, a number of teams had reported this and had been in locked talks with the FIA over recent weeks over suspicions that an unidentified team is adjusting the clearance of that front bib, commonly known as the T-tray, between qualifying and the race. Adjusting this here. Yes, not particularly good, is it? And the FIA is going to alter, obviously, the rules. But although the trick would bring a significant aerodynamic benefit, reports here, allowing teams to adjust the car ride height to suit the high demands of low fuel runs of qualifying and a heavier fuel load for the race distance. Normally the teams have to obviously compromise. That could give a massive advantage. And the irony is, it was only about a year ago that it was Lewis Hamilton getting disqualified for the United States Grand Prix because of the ride height issue and the extra wear on the plank. So it would represent, and here we go, this would represent a clear breach of F1's technical regulations, which forbid tweaks to the aero configuration of the car outside of the front wing under park-friendly conditions. It is said that the team may have found a way to circumvent this rule by allowing the settings to be changed from inside the cockpit, potentially by a mechanic, during routine pre-race preparations. Although the FIA have found no conclusive evidence that the trick has been used by a team, the governing body had confirmed that it is changing. So it's found no conclusive evidence. Okay. Let's get on to the next story. Because Red Bull admits front bib device exists, but plan agreed with FIA, which we're probably never ever going to know, a la F1 2019 with the Ferrari Magic engine. Red Bull has spoken for the first time over the controversy regarding front bib ride height adjustment. There were teams thinking it was Red Bull. There were teams thinking it, or people at least, on social media thinking it was McLaren. So, to be fair, at least this unnamed team is now known as Red Bull. Red Bull has admitted that a device to alter its front bib height does exist, but insists it cannot be used while the car is assembled. My beard and nose gets longer. Speculation about a team exploiting a way of lifting and lowering the heights of its T-tray erupted on the eve of the United States Grand Prix when the FIA revealed that it was opposing a clampdown on the matter. The governing body said that following concerns expressed by teams about potential exploitation by a rival, as we just talked about, there's going to be new procedures introduced into Austin. One way of this could be done is through the fitting of seals and devices that can be adjusted to alter the ride height from the front bib to ensure they cannot be moved. Kind of like an engine seal. They got seals over the engine and they need to get permission for those seals to be broken, and they kind of have to agree what work they're going to do. Teams do with the FIA. So as teams gathered in Austin for this weekend's race, it became clear that the focus of the matter revolved around a certain Red Bull team. Now, sources suggest that the competitors had been alerted at the Singapore Grand Prix to speculation, and I did not know this, that the Milton Keynes squad having a way to adjust its bib height through a change of settings on a component in an area accessible from the cockpit. This was found through Red Bull having to publish design details of that element on the FIA servers as part of the regulations revolving around open source parts. Been suggested that this device had a range of settings that could be adjusted by a mechanic to help alter the ride height, and understood the plan does not involve any modifications to the Red Bull in this weekend's United States Grand Prix, but changes could be made in the future. Performing this action would be allowed throughout practice, so the component itself is not outside regulations, but it would be illegal if changes were made under Park from a rules from a conditions that begin from qualifying until the last race. It's understood that discussions took place between teams about the matter. Following this talk, it's understood that the governing body held talks with Red Bull before the race to ensure that it was going to do nothing untoward. Well, what about all the other races? What about, like, the 18, 16, 17 or whatever races beforehand? What the heck? Speaking this week, the FIA said there was no evidence that Red Bull actually... Well, of course you're not going to be able to prove it, are you? And this is very similar to... This Bibgate thing is very similar to Benetton back in 1994 when they had this, I think it's option 13, they were using traction control. To be fair, Ayrton Senna was convinced that they were using traction control the way they were coming out the corners. Myself, yeah, they probably were, to be honest. And other Benetton mechanics have kind of intimated maybe they were being a bit cheeky with the rules. And when this was found out, they were kind of like, yeah, we've got it, prove we're using it. Yeah, this is slightly different because it's... I mean, option 13, if you use it, it's illegal. Like this one, if you use it, it's illegal, but they have it in practice. And however, from now, monitoring this aspect of the car, but it's too late. If they have been using it, which we don't know, to be fair, we don't know they're using it, innocent to proven guilty. But if they were, I guess, they could have been using it all the time. A bit like the rumours about the braking. Red Bull denied. Of course they're going to deny anything untoward. Any team would, to be fair, but initially, especially if you can't prove it. Having said that, this is the same team, what is it, like 2 years ago, they're like, no, we didn't breach the cost cap when they did. So they've already proven to be, at best, economic with the truth. Let's go on to Twitter. Look, this guy here, he's obviously a Lewis Hamilton fan. Lewis was disqualified from Brazil for a 0.22mm difference on his rear wing, even though the FIA said the car was legal when it left the garage and the failure happened on track. Red Bull breached the cost bet, found to be using two illegal... Oh, they're not really illegal in their cars. To-do list, nothing. Wow. I mean, that's just savage. To-do list, nothing. Yes. Breach cost cap, found to be using two illegal systems on their cars. Whoa. This is interesting, which is, I thought, is a Sky interview that's recently happened. Not Sky interview, but on Sky. This has recently happened during the press conference today. Let's have a play and let's have a listen, shall we?
F1 question for Lando. We arrive in Austin, and there's nothing like a good technical skullduggery story, and a team believed to have a device that can alter the ride height at the front of the car, and Red Bull have said, yes, we have got that device on our car. The fact now...
Giving credit to Red Bull, yes, they've admitted that they've got the device. Fair play, to be honest, fair play to Red Bull.
FIA have found a way to make sure that a device like that could not be now used. Does that give you an advantage in the title run between now and Abu Dhabi? The fact that Red Bull may be having their wings clipped technically, shall we say.
Interesting use of words.
Max to then go and fight it out on the track.
I mean, it's one thing having it on your car. It's another thing on how much you exploit it and use it, which we have no idea on. So,
and to be fair, that is kind of true. And he's being nice. Someone might have said, yeah, absolutely fair play. It's terrible. Milk it. But Lando's not quite the politician, and I like him for that. I do. He's very straightforward like that.
If it has been helping them, if they've been utilizing it in the way people think they have, then maybe it will shift in our direction. But I mean, when you talk about things like that, it's not going to gain them, they're not going to have got several pole positions or wins just because of such a device, So I don't think it really will change anything in the scheme of things. But when we look at maybe certain qualifyings and we look at
the issue is with this whole brake thing and this whole bib thing now. Here's the issue. If Lando Norris loses by 5 or 6 points, yes, you can blame McLaren. But you're going to have people now coming out there going, well, Red Bull won with a cheating car. And once again, poor Max Verstappen, because, you've got this really talented kid, whether you like him or not, whether you think he's controversial or not, he does have bundles of talent. Winning these championships and having question marks all the time. If Michael Schumacher had a few question marks from some anti-Michael Schumacher fans or fans who are like, quite rightly, 94, controversial, 97, controversial. But I don't think any other than that, really, any of his Ferrari championships after that going forward were that controversial. But with Max Verstappen, obviously, the poor guy, you got 2021, then you got the cost cap from 21 coming into 2022, you got 23, the most dominant car ever, and then you have the brakes, and you've now got this bib thing. Now, were they using it in 23? But this is the thing, this is why it really, really hurts the sport, and it's such a shame. Because you've got Red Bull, this team, that, okay, yes, as if this is all true, it's near the mark, but they're very, very talented individuals there. Talented, well, one driver anyway. The other driver used to be. But one very, very talented Flying Dutchman in there. And it's just really, really unfair. And he must be thinking, are you making me look bad? Should I be going to another team? They're most certainly not helping him at all.
In certain races this year, when it's been split by hundredths of a second in qualifying or even thousands, then you might say, okay, well, maybe this has helped in that direction or this direction. But I think it's good that the FIA are doing such a thing.
Yes. Yes, there is.
Between black and white stuff like this, and there's a difference between Formula One and pushing the boundaries and creating new things and innovating within the space that you're allowed to innovate. And I think that's what we as McLaren have done a very good job in. But
okay, fair enough. I mean, here's RBR Daily at Red Bull. Red Bull have been accused by other teams of floor height bib trick. No evidence so far, but Red Bull firmly denies these claims. And this is the other thing: if they indeed came out and if they indeed denied it, I've got no reason why RBR Daily, which is post daily Red Bull news, they initially denied it. Okay, they initially denied it. That's good. And then the next thing you have is Red Bull have admitted the front bib device does exist and will make changes to the car after discussions with the FIA. A spokesman told the BBC, yes, the device exists, although it's inaccessible once the car is fully assembled and ready to run. Okay. In the numerous correspondence with the FIA, this part came up and we've agreed a plan going forward. What? I mean, I've just typed in Red Bull here. Matt Gallagher saying, having to change the car at the most important weekend of the season. Tasty championship. Another person going, the downfall of Red Bull will be studied in the history books. Savage. Red Bull have admitted that they have made changes to the car as a result of discussions rather than alerted the FIA to a device. This is all obviously in the numerous correspondence we've had with the FIA. The part came up and we agreed a plan. Red Bull has admitted a device to alter its front bib height. Whoops a daisy. And that's that's what we saw earlier. Someone's put, sorry, but if this is true, Red Bull need to be punished properly. The alleged ride height adjustment is illegal. It's only illegal if they use it between qualifying and the race, and that's the thing that's going to be very difficult to prove. Is it illegal? Not really, but if they use it at a certain part of the weekend, it most certainly is. The issue being, we can't prove it. But there's the issue. I mean, that's the issue anyway, isn't it? The fact they've got it there. And assuming none of the other teams have it, just like in the cost cap, they're the only team to breach the cost cap. None of the other teams did. In terms of the actual money of the cost cap, other teams breached kind of like the admin part. But still, Red Bull not looking particularly clever going into the circuit of the Americas. It's going to be interesting to see what the crowd are going to think of this now, because they're quite hardcore. I remember when they came in from 2022, it can't have been nice for Christian. They were booing him, shouting Jesus and things like that. You saw it on the Netflix Drive to Survive episode, and I kind of felt bad for Christian, because then out of the weekend, very sadly, Mr. Messerschmitt, the head of Messerschmitt, I can never say his name right, the head of Red Bull, sadly passed away. But there we go. So if you liked what you see, please hit that subscribe button. That would make me really happy. If you're already a subscriber, hit the notification button so you don't miss a video. And the like. And maybe a comment. If you do one of them, you're an F1 champion in our eyes. If you do both, you are a multiple F1 champion. We'll speak to you soon, because this is the United States Grand Prix weekend. F1 is back.